This is Qtv News. I am Mariettu Sidibe and thanks for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. President Barrow on Wednesday morning left Banjul for a day's working visit to Guinea-Bissau, where he held bilateral talks with the Guinean president. The Gambia's Chief Justice on Monday said that the Gambia must not relent in coming up with a new constitutional framework. The Director General of ex-President Yahya Jammeh's HIV treatment program, Dr. Tamsin Bow, on Wednesday told the TRRC that the ex-president cured HIV and AIDS patients. As the by-election for the Nyamina West constituency and Kirjarga ward draw nearer, QTV went to find out how the IEC is preparing for the elections. In international news, pending the announcement of the final result of Guinea's Sunday presidential election, AU and ECOWAS observers on the ground say the election was conducted properly despite the opposition leader claiming irregularities. Burundi's top court on Tuesday sentenced former President Pierre Buyoya to life imprisonment for the murder of a former president in 1993. And in sports, Gambia under-20 players said they are excited to get back to the pitch ahead of the WAFU Zone A Men's under-20 tournament in Senegal. Now, the local news in detail. President Barrow on Wednesday morning left Banjul for a day's working visit to Guinea-Bissau, where he held bilateral talks with his counterpart, President Umaru Sissoco Embalo. Aliou Cissé reports.
My dear brother, welcome to your country, President Barrow. I am very happy.
President Barrow was received on arrival at the Osvaldo Vieira International Airport by his Bissau-Guinean counterpart, President Umaru Sissoco Embalo, senior officials of the Bissau government and the Gambian community there. This is the first visit by President Barrow to Guinea-Bissau since his election in 2016. And it follows President Umaru Sissoco Embalo's visit to the Gambia in January this year, where both leaders held talks renewing their commitment to foster the Banjul-Bissau ties. The exchange visits by the two leaders is expected to further strengthen the already existing bilateral ties between Guinea-Bissau and the Gambia. The two countries are close neighbors and share a lot in common. Hence, it is imperative to work together in the areas of security, trade, culture, and agriculture, among others, in the interest of their people. President Barrow says the visit is very important while offering a piece of advice to his counterpart.
It will consolidate this relationship in the interest of these two countries, Bissau and the Gambia. You cannot run a country if the country is not peaceful. My special advice to my brother is to reconcile everybody so that they work together in the interest of Bissau and develop Bissau.
Welcoming President Barrow and delegation, Embalo says the visit is very important in the Gambia-Bissau relations. The president also visited burial sites to pay respect to late Amilcar Cabral and other fallen heroes of Bissau before a meeting with the Gambian community in Bissau. Guinea-Bissau, a Portuguese-speaking country, has been marred by political instability over the years, but the current President Embalo has promised to change Bissau for good. President Barrow returns to Banjul on Wednesday evening. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
The Gambia's Chief Justice on Monday said that the Gambia must not relent in coming up with a new constitutional framework and that there is need for stakeholders in the process to reach a compromise to forge ahead. Momodu Lamin Choi reports.
The judiciary, through the Chief Justice, is now speaking on the national interest, the building of a new constitution for our country. The process for a new constitution ran into stagnation when National Assembly members rejected a bill that would have advanced it to a progressive stage. The Chief Justice has confirmed the judiciary's attention in developments surrounding the country's efforts for a new constitution. A new constitution does indeed matter for our judiciary, and this organ of government has been part of the journey towards its success.
Indeed, the judiciary, like many persons, many individuals and entities in the country, has been an active participant in this process. preparing and submitting memoranda to Constitutional Review Commission, and holding consultations with them in matters of interest to the judiciary. For the Constitution is not only the source of the establishment and mandates and powers of the jurisdictions of the judicature, it is also the source of authority of all other laws which are applied by the court. We are also aware of where these efforts stand at the moment, but we must not give up.
We must not give up, as he put it, because the country has history lessons relating to constitutional building process, which also teaches that it is a challenging process, but there always exist solutions towards unlocking a deadlock along the way.
It is useful to remind ourselves that the 1970 Constitution was rejected at the first referendum at which it was presented to the nation. It was patience, perseverance, and dialogue which led to its adoption at a second referendum some years later, and to its survival for almost a quarter century. Those qualities are very much in demand today to help us unlock the impasse that we now face.
For the Chief Justice, compromise is fundamental in ending the prevailing political impasse caused by our divergent views and opinions on the constitutional building process. Justice Hassan B. Jallow also believes that the display of flexibility in our strong views for a breakthrough towards realizing our common goals as a nation is significant.
Constitution making, as I said, is a challenging process. It requires patience, it requires compromises, and it requires accommodation. We must not relent in our efforts to ensure that we come up with a new constitutional framework. We must pick up again from where we are and try and move forward in order to achieve the goal we agreed upon. We all agreed that we do need such a new constitutional framework. What is required now is for all engaged in the process to be ready to make compromises, to accommodate views and concerns of others, and to exercise due patience in the process.
A fundamental pillar towards our successful democratic transition is now on hold when our country needs a progress towards a new system of governance structure that will address our problems that has existed for so long. The government is still silent while the country watches to see what steps it will take to fulfill its promise for a new constitution. Mahmoud Lamin Choy, Qtv News.
The Director General of ex-President Yahya Jammeh's HIV treatment program, Dr. Tamsir Mbow, on Wednesday told the TRRC that the ex-president cured HIV and AIDS patients. Babukar C reports.
Tamsir Mbow began his testimony with his educational background and his career as a doctor. He said he worked at the RVH before his appointment as the Director General of ex-President Jammeh's alternative treatment program. He told the commission that till date, he does not know what type of herbs the ex-president used to cure HIV-infected patients.
Medications we are giving to the patients.
What
kind of medication? Up to now, I cannot tell you the type of medications the president was using. According to him, he told me initially that he was using about 7 different medications. Later, he told me that he was using more than 20 different types of medications.
On the alleged denial of patients leaving the treatment program or allowed them visitors, Dr. Mbow said that was not true. But when he was given his own written statement to read, he changed the statement and accepted that patients were not allowed to leave for the first 6 months of the treatment. On the treatment program, he insisted that they were using both traditional and conventional treatment on patients, with doctors and trained nurses assisting in the program. Mbow questioned the credibility of the patients who said to the TRRC that they were not cured, arguing that these were the same people praising Yahya Jammeh for the efficiency of his medicines.
With due respect, how credible are these people? Do you question their credibility in front of the whole nation, in front of the TV?
Yes, we did.
Praising, singing, saying every good thing about Yahya. In front of you, sir, they're giving you a different story.
Did you criticize him that the program was bogus?
The program is true. The treatment is true. Why should I criticize?
On the samples taken to Dakar for testing, Dr. Mbao categorically denied making any arrangements for the samples to be taken, insisting that he never spoke to anyone in Dakar for the samples to be taken by Mr. Bachidi for testing. The witness said after the first batch of patients were taken to Senegal, Bachidi called him to say the virus was undetectable in some of the patients tested, and he relayed the message to the ex-president Jammeh. He further stated that all the records and documents were handed to Yaya Jammeh. On the announcement of the first results of the samples tested in Senegal, Dr. Bow agreed that he had announced their results without any scientific proof. Dr. Bow confessed to the commission that Jammeh used to include samples on known patients in what he described as plain smart tactics. Mbow's testimony brings to an end the TRRC's investigation into the ex-president's so-called HIV treatment program, and up next will be the NIA. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
As the by-elections for the Nyamina West constituency and Kirjarga ward draw nearer amidst the coronavirus, QTV went to find out how the IEC is preparing for the elections. Omar Pijalo has more.
The by-election scheduled for 7th November 2020 is as a result of the death of former National Assembly member for Nyamina West, Honorable Dembo Sow, and the resignation of the former ward councillor for Kirjarga ward, Alpha M. Khan, which created vacancies that need to be occupied. They both were elected in 2017 under a GDC ticket. The by-elections were supposed to be held in April. However, the COVID-19 restrictions delayed the process.
Nyamina elections will take place 16th of April. But because of the COVID issue, we had to suspend everything. But now, as you rightly said, we are going to have it on the 7th of November.
Ali Momar Njai, chairman of the IEC, says with QTV the measures put in place to ensure free, fair and transparent elections, bearing in mind the safety of voters from the pandemic.
What we do is sanitization and also the temperature setting. We do that. But they put their own mask. You can supply the whole country with mask. They don't come with their own mask. If you don't have a mask, you're not let you in. That's what's up. Because the current energy of people, whether it's our people or voters, we make sure that the law is adhered to.
On the budget for the by-elections, Njai has this response.
Well, again, this is something that we don't have to disclose to people. This is the result of the IEC and government. But the IEC and government is funding the cost of the elections. The IEC government funding this.
The conduct of the by-election is in accordance with Section 19, subsection 3 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia and Section 84 of the Election Act, pursuant to Section 23 of the Local Government Act. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
We will go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, the news continues with some more local news stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Following the Gambia Ports Authority's announcement that the Banjul-Barra ferry services will be suspended at least for a month to allow for the reconstruction of the new landers, QTV's Ansumana Esonyasu went to find out the challenges commuters are facing.
The GPA management has hired the services of engineers from the Netherlands who are expected to begin the construction of the new landing sites. Newly built assembled ramps have already arrived in the country, and work is expected to commence in the coming days. However, for commuters who frequently ply the Banjul-Barra crossing points, these are stressful times. Many of them are now using the small boats or canoes to cross. Pamodu Senghor, a resident of Barra, says these are unusual times and hopes the ferry landers will be fixed within the stipulated time. However, his main concern is the lack of sufficient life jackets for those who use boats. Like everyone who boards these boats, Salunjai and Ramatulai Fai just arrived from Bara and were carried off to the riverbank by a group of young men who are paid to carry commuters on their shoulders. They told QTV that they encountered no problems on the way. However, they are calling on government to provide more support for the Navy. I am asking government to support the Navy so that they can continue doing the great job they are doing. I do not encounter any difficulties on the way, and I hope the landers will be fixed soon.
I have never encountered any difficulties since I started crossing here. It is a bit strange because we are used to crossing by using the ferry, but I understand it has to be fixed so that we can enjoy better service.
The halt in ferry services has not only affected commuters, but vendors and those who use carts and wheelbarrows to transport luggages and merchandise to earn a living. The GPA is also projecting an estimated loss of over $15 million in revenue during the 1 month break. For now, commuters will have to wait for a month before they can start enjoying the ferry services again. Answane Sonyasi for Qtv News.
Traffic congestion in Kanifing municipality and parts of the West Coast region is a nightmare for motorists, passengers and pedestrians. The situation is not only aggravated during rush hours, but also when it rains. Loli Kamara reports.
Alpha Omar Jallo is a driver affected by the traffic congestion.
I have been in this traffic for an hour now. The roads are small and movement is so slow. We use a lot of fuel a day, which is very stressful for us.
Jare Kamara, a commuter, says he has been waiting for a taxi for half an hour. I am coming from the Serakunda market, trying to go home to cook lunch. But all the drivers are operating on higher bases or town trip. Instead of picking us one by one, the drivers should sympathize with us, especially the women. Ndumbeba, a commuter, also had this to say. I have been standing here for an hour now. I work in this area, but the situation is the same every day. There are many taxis around, but the drivers are not taking people because they don't want to get stuck in traffic. Therefore, they avoid taking people. People have also complained that there are not enough roads in the Gambia to accommodate the vehicles. Feeder roads are recommended to ease the problem. Therefore, unless more, better and proper roads are constructed, the traffic congestion is here to stay. For QTV News, Loli M. Kamara.
We will take another short break and we continue with international and sports news when we return. Welcome back. In international news, pending the announcement of the final result of Guinea's Sunday presidential election, AU and ECOWAS observers on the ground say the election was conducted properly despite opposition leader Cellou Dalein Diallo claiming irregularities after declaring himself winner of first round. Omar P. Diallo reports.
Monitors from the African Union and the West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS have said Guinea's weekend presidential election was conducted properly amidst rising tensions ahead of the release of the official results. The two bodies made the announcement on Tuesday, a day after leading opposition challenger Cellou Dalein Diallo, even after suggesting the poll was rigged, said he had won this first round of Sunday's election. Comments that are certain to set him in a confrontational path with the incumbent President Alpha Condé. Diallo's claim was swiftly rejected by the Electoral Commission, which called it a premature and void. Meanwhile, the United Nations, AU and ECOWAS called the premature declaration of results regrettable. This state of affairs is not conducive for preserving calm, they said in a joint statement. The Commission is expected to announce provisional results today, Wednesday, after receiving the last polling station tally. The Constitutional Court will then have 8 days to declare a winner. A second round of voting, if needed, is scheduled for November 24th. The government said in a statement on Monday that the opposition clearly intended to create chaos and to call into question the real results. Diallo tweeted on Monday night that security forces had shot dead 3 boys and wounded several people. He blamed Condé for the crimes. However, Guinea's government did not confirm the deaths. Incumbent Alpha Condé, 82, is seeking a controversial third presidential term, a move that has triggered months of deadly unrest in Guinea. After decades as an opposition activist, Condé became Guinea's first democratically elected president in 2010 and was re-elected 5 years later. But rights groups now accuse him of turning towards authoritarianism. Diallo, 68, was formerly a prime minister under authoritarian leader Lassana Conté. He successfully challenged Condé in both 2010 and 2015 in elections his party activists are convinced were rigged. The rising tension has also raised the possibilities of ethical conflict, which Condé accused of exploiting divisions for electoral ends, a charge he denied. Guinea's politics are mainly drawn along ethical lines. The president's base is mostly from the Malinka community and Diallo's from the Fulani people. In the run-up to the vote, the UN had urged candidates to curb ethnically charged hate speech, warning the situation is extremely dangerous and may lead to violence. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Burundi's top court on Tuesday sentenced former President Pierre Buyoya to life imprisonment for the murder of a former president in 1993. Here is the report.
Buyoya was jailed for killing the first democratically elected and first Hutu president, Melchior Ndadaye, of Burundi after winning a landmark 1993 election and defeated him. 19 others were also sentenced by the court, 3 of whom were given 20 years in prison in relation to the case. Those sentenced were also ordered to collectively pay a fine of 103 billion Burundian francs, equivalent to $53 million. Ndadaye was killed along with several of his cabinet ministers in an attack by Tutsi soldiers 4 months after he won the election. A few low-ranking officials were arrested for the assassination in 1998. The killing of Ndadaye triggered a political confusion, leading to a 10-year civil war that lasted until 2016. Ndadaye's successor, Cyprian Ntaryamira, and Rwandan President Juvenal Habyarimana died in 1994 when a plane carrying them was shot down by a rocket over Kigali in neighboring Rwanda, triggering the Rwandan genocide in which 800,000 people were killed. Buyoya is at present the African Union's High Representative for Mali and the Sahel. He could not immediately be reached for comment on the sentencing. Many of those convicted, including Buyoya, did not appear in court or enter a plea as they are abroad. Ansumane Sonyasi for Qtv News.
President George Weah on Monday said he was seeking help from the United States following the mysterious death of 3 Liberian tax officials and a senior government auditor. The deaths have provoked public suspicion and outrage in a country grappling with corruption. More in this report.
The death occurred within 1 month, sparking speculation and rumors of an assassination campaign targeting revenue collectors and auditors. 3 of the officials work at the Liberia Revenue Authority, and the 4th victim was the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency. President Weah said he had instructed his Justice Minister to seek partners' help in the investigation to determine the actual cause of the death. The Secretary General of the Human Rights Advocacy Platform of Liberia, Adama Dempster, said turning to the U.S. to investigate the case shows how weak Liberia's institutions are. This just tells us that the government's arm of investigation is not effective and that there is mistrust among law enforcement bodies. As a civil society, we call on the government to set up an independent body comprising of different institutions that will come out with a very credible investigation into this death, he said. According to reports, the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency died at a time when he had been conducting an audit of Liberia's COVID-19 relief funds and studying the financial statements of the National Ports Authority, a major source of revenue for Liberia. Mohamed Ali, the National Secretary General of the Opposition Unity Party, believes that the nature of the work Newswire and the 3 tax officials were carrying out had put their lives in danger. The National Secretary General of the Opposition Unity Party believes that the deaths are connected to the financial investigations. He further added that these deaths were meant to scare off auditors from investigating financial misappropriation. Thomas Kedo, Assistant Professor at the University of Liberia, said that the death of the tax officials and the senior auditor would have both local and global implications. Liberians are in a state of fear following the mysterious incidents, leaving them asking, why auditors? The country awaits a thorough investigation and the publication of the findings. However, according to some reports, findings of similar investigation in the past had never been made public, fueling public mistrust of government agencies. The former international footballer turned politician George Weah was elected president in 2018 on a promise to tackle corruption. He has since faced a public backlash over continued corruption and the poor state of the economy. Mahmoud Lamenchoy, Qtv News.
And now on to some sports news. Gambia under-20 players say they are excited to get back to the pitch ahead of the WAFU Zone A Men's under-20 tournament in Senegal after football was suspended for months due to the coronavirus pandemic. Our sports reporter Mamadou Gajaga caught up with them at their training ground, and this is his report.
For 6 months, I play football. I'm not sleeping. My manager called me. I cannot believe it. I'm really happy. I really appreciate it. You know, after sitting some months without playing football, we're just doing extra works at home.
I feel excited and yeah, I'm ready because we are footballers. We don't have to sit for a long time not playing.
These young players are once again playing their favorite sports after months of anxiously waiting. They are preparing for the WAFU Zone A under-20 tournament scheduled to take place in Senegal in November. For Coach Matar Mboj, the long wait has an effect on the players' fitness.
We're back to our livelihoods. We're back to doing what we love the most. And I think everybody here is happy that we're back on the pitch and we're, as I said, getting to do the things that we love to do.
Just one more word. The players, are they rusty? Do they need to get quickly back to their fitness again?
Anybody who knows that a group of players you haven't played or had any form of activity for 8 months, nearly 8 months, there's no way, unless you're not human, that you're going to be not rusty. So yeah, the rustiness is there physically, but in terms of the technical application and how they are on the ball, I think we did a sterling job in identifying players who have a good technical ability, so they will never lose that, no matter how long they don't play.
Paswarefai is the team manager. He reflected on how it feels playing the beautiful game again after a long break.
Just to say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Everyone was waiting for this. The day they told us that, they'll be having a meeting with the JFF and the Sport Council, I was so delighted, and then had the news that, we're going to start training on Sunday. I was the most happiest person.
For these players, the next 2 weeks will be intense. They have to train hard to gain their fitness, match sharpness, and impeccable character to fit into the final 20-man selection for the WAFU Zone A under-20 tournament to be held in Senegal next month. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
Before we end this bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. President Barrow on Wednesday morning left Banjul for a day's working visit to Guinea-Bissau, where he held bilateral talks with the Guinean president. The Gambia's Chief Justice on Monday said that the Gambia must not relent in coming up with a new constitutional framework. The Director General of ex-President Yahya Jammeh's HIV treatment program, Dr. Tamsir Mbow, on Wednesday told the TRRC that the ex-president has cured HIV/AIDS patients. As the by-elections for the Nyamina West constituency and Kirjarga ward draw nearer, QTV went to find out how the IEC is preparing for the elections. In international news, Pending the announcement of the final result of Guinea's Sunday presidential election, AU and ECOWAS observers on the ground say the election was conducted properly despite the opposition leader claiming irregularities. Burundi's top court on Tuesday sentenced former President Pierre Buyoya to life imprisonment for the murder of a former president in 1993. And in sports, Gambia under-20 players said they are excited to get back to the pitch ahead of the WAFU Zone A Men's under-20 tournament in Senegal. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you for watching.